Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to being well-informed. The aviation world, it's just incredibly dynamic, isn't it?
Absolutely. Always something happening.
Yeah, it's this constant swirl, ambitious new partnerships trying to reshape tourism,
Yeah.
and you've got these innovative operational strategies for fleet expansion.
And you can't forget the critical regulatory side, always keeping players, let's say, on their toes.
Exactly. So today, we're diving into Complete Aviation Solutions, Deep Dive number 104. We've got a stack of fascinating sources that honestly reveal some pretty significant shifts happening right now in global aviation.
That's right. And our journey today, well, we're going to unpack some major strategic collaborations, the ones really aimed at turbocharging tourism. Then we'll pivot a bit, look at how airlines are quite aggressively, actually, expanding their fleets, meeting demand, getting more flexible. And finally, yeah, we have to look at a recent regulatory event. It's a stark reminder about operational compliance, how absolutely non-negotiable it is.
And our mission, like always, is to pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge and insight for you, making sure you get not just what's going on, but really why it matters. What are the ripple effects likely to be?
The context.
Okay, let's jump right in. First up, this really fascinating development focused on boosting travel demand from China. We're looking at a pretty significant tripartite partnership. It's between a major airline from New Zealand, a prominent Chinese airline, and also New Zealand's National Tourism Organization.
Right, not just a casual handshake. This is strategic.
Definitely. And the sources highlight a substantial financial commitment here. We're talking nearly NZ $500,000 in investment directly from these three players. But that's not all. The New Zealand airline, they're putting in an additional $700,000 specifically for marketing over the next 12 months.
Wow.
Yeah, that's some serious money, especially targeted at just one market. What does that kind of focused investment tell us about their confidence, maybe?
Oh, it speaks volumes, absolutely volumes about their long-term view. What's particularly interesting here, though, is how specific that funding is. It's earmarked.
How so?
Well, it's not just general marketing. It's designed specifically for a campaign to raise awareness of New Zealand as a preferred destination for Chinese travelers. But there's more to it. It also underlines, sort of reinforces, the long-standing alliance these two airlines have, which actually started way back in 2015.
Ah, okay, so it's not brand new.
Not at all. It's a deepening of the relationship, emphasizing connectivity, seamless code shares, convenience, a really integrated customer experience. They're banking on that established trust, that operational synergy.
And China's importance for New Zealand, well, the numbers are quite striking. It's consistently their third largest source of international visitors.
Yeah, about 8% of total arrivals, I think.
That's it. And the data from the year leading up to March 2025, 248,000 Chinese travelers visited New Zealand. That's an impressive 18% jump from the previous year.
18%. That kind of growth is compelling. You're right.
And listening to the airline CEOs, the tourism board, really underscore this, the CEO of the New Zealand airline said their Shanghai-Auckland service is, quote, going from strength to strength, and flat out stated China is an incredibly important market.
No ambiguity there.
None. And the chairman of the Chinese airline expressed strong confidence in the market's recovery, highlighted how this alliance reinforces mutual trust. And then from the tourism side, the potential seems immense. They estimate around 60 million people in China are actively considering a holiday to New Zealand.
60 million. That's just a massive pool of potential visitors to tap into.
Right.
And if we connect this to the sort of the bigger picture, it shows a really profound strategic grasp of how traveler behavior is changing, especially from the Chinese market. Our sources note that Chinese visitors are increasingly drawn to New Zealand's unique mix, the culture, the famous friendliness, and of course, the amazing natural scenery.
Mountains, lakes, hiking.
Exactly. Think majestic mountains, pristine lakes, epic hiking national parks. It's beyond just the typical tourist spots. And what's even more insightful, maybe, is this shift they're seeing towards smaller groups, visitors staying longer, exploring more diverse regions.
Interesting. So deeper engagement.
Precisely. It suggests a desire for deeper engagement with the place, moving past that quick, maybe superficial tour. And this partnership, it's clearly set up to capture that kind of deeper, higher value engagement.
And to support that kind of more sophisticated traveler, the New Zealand airline is doing some concrete things, introducing brand new cabins on its 787s flying to Shanghai sometimes.
Giving people a taste of enhanced comfort.
Yeah. And more strategically, maybe, from October, we're going to see a substantial 33% increase in premium seats on that Shanghai-Auckland route.
Okay, 33%. That's specific.
Very specific.
Mm.
How does that kind of capacity shift, especially in premium cabins, fit with the partnership's broader goals?
Well, it's a crucial alignment, really. It signals a clear strategy. For yield management, yes, but also catering to that high-value segment.
Makes sense.
The premium traveler often spends more, stays longer, has a bigger economic impact overall. So by boosting premium capacity, they're not just chasing volume, they're optimizing for profitability and for a superior customer experience. Which, raises the question, what's the ultimate long-term goal here with all these efforts combined?
Good question.
The New Zealand Prime Minister sees this partnership as, quote, turbocharging tourism recovery and growth, which is, well, absolutely essential for creating jobs, supporting local businesses, strengthening communities all across New Zealand. But it's also about deepening connections between people, between cultures, fostering a more sustainable, mutually beneficial tourism relationship, not just transactional.
Right.
It's a powerful blend, really, economic and cultural diplomacy working together.
That really deepens our understanding on the tourism side. Okay, let's pivot now to something equally critical for an airline's operational backbone, fleet expansion. And here we see a really fascinating strategy playing out down in Australia. Our sources detail how an Australian-based passenger airline, it's a subsidiary of a major aviation solutions group, is significantly strengthening its fleet.
Okay.
This airline, they've just added a second Airbus A319, and it's highlighted as a key part of their broader development plan.
Mm-hmm.
What's the strategic thinking behind this specific aircraft type for them?
Well, the A319, it's known as a versatile workhorse, right? Good for short to medium haul routes, efficient, reliable. But for this airline, the real significance of adding another A319, it's all about expanding their ACMI operation.
ACMI. Aircraft crew, maintenance, and insurance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the overarching goal here is to solidify their position as a highly reliable and, importantly, flexible partner in the Australian market. This lets regional carriers who often face unique challenges in Australia's huge geography do several critical things.
Like what?
Like operate more flights during peak times, or add or maybe just evaluate new routes without needing massive upfront capital. And crucially, replace aircraft that need maintenance without disrupting their schedules. That's huge. It's about seamless operational continuity, minimizing impact on passengers.
And this new aircraft, it's available right now for ACMI leasing and charter out of Perth, a key hub.
Ready to go.
So this ACMI model, it really sounds like a strategic plus for carriers. Quick scaling for peak seasons, navigating market ups and downs, and potentially boosting profitability by, what, 2–3%?
That's what the sources suggest, yeah.
But what are maybe the less obvious upsides, or even potential downsides, perhaps, of relying heavily on an ACMI model for growth?
That's a really good question, because while ACMI offers, incredible flexibility and it's capital efficient, the less obvious advantage, it lets an airline really test new markets or expand fast without the full risk exposure of buying planes outright or signing long-term dry leases.
Risk mitigation.
Exactly. For an informed audience like ours, it's about agility, especially in a volatile market. Now, the trade-off, well, maybe less direct control over the specific aircraft or crew sometimes, and it absolutely requires a strong, trust-based relationship with the ACMI provider.
Right.
But for this particular group, it seems like a calculated move, and the timing of the expansion. It lines up perfectly with market projections for Australia. One report forecasts domestic air travel in Australia to grow by about 2.6% annually, with total domestic passenger numbers through Aussie airports growing maybe 2.2% annually.
Potentially hitting over 237 million passengers by 2050.
Yeah, potentially. So this isn't just about meeting today's demand. It's about future-proofing their capacity, positioning themselves for that growth.
And the second A319, it's part of a bigger picture, isn't it? A whole series of fleet moves they've made just this year, 2025.
That's right.
They got their first new A319 back in February. Then in April, they expanded again, adding Dash A200s.
Which complement their existing Dash A100s and negative 300s.
Right. And these new Dash A200s will even open up a new route between Lord Howe Island and Sydney, directly addressing a specific regional need. So it's very deliberate, this multi-pronged approach.
Absolutely deliberate. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, remember, the parent group acquired this airline back in March 2024.
How do you?
That acquisition was precisely to solidify its market position. and specifically address seasonality challenges, which are, pretty common in the Australian market with its distinct peak and off-peak travel times. So both these new A319s are indeed earmarked for ACMI and charter. Across Australia and even the wider Asia-Pacific region, it demonstrates a clear, integrated strategy, growth and flexibility within that larger aviation solutions group.
A smart play.
Yeah, smart play to diversify revenue, optimize how they use their assets.
Okay, so we've covered strategic partnerships for growth.
Yep.
Smart fleet expansion for flexibility. But what happens when things, well, don't go according to plan? Our sources also give us a pretty stark reminder about the critical importance of regulatory compliance in aviation.
The other side of the coin.
It involves the recent revocation of an airline's operating license.
A serious development.
Very. The Bulgarian Civil Aviation Administration issued an order back on May 9th to annul the operating license of a passenger charter airline based in Sofia. The stated reason: non-compliance with the terms set out in its air operator's certificate.
That phrasing is direct.
It is. And it's a serious breach. Immediate, severe consequences follow. This isn't just, a paperwork issue. It raises some critical questions about the health, the stability of new airlines trying to enter the market.
It absolutely does. And while the official reason is stated clearly, the exact specifics behind the authorities' decision, they remain, publicly unknown.
Why is that?
At the time our source was published, neither the regulator nor the airline were available for immediate comment. This lack of transparency, while sometimes needed during investigations, it can leave room for speculation. But for an informed audience, I think the key takeaway is the swiftness and the severity of the action taken.
And this airline, it had only just gotten its operating license and its AOC, its Air Operator's Certificate, at the very end of 2023.
Barely started.
Right. It then launched charter operations out of Pristina, working for a local tour operator, and it sourced its aircraft to an Italian virtual carrier. So it was a relatively new player.
Operating in quite a complex arrangement, too.
Yeah, barely operational for a few months.
And that context is vital. Because as of April 2nd, just weeks before the revocation, the airline reportedly still held a valid air operator certificate.
Really?
Yes. Yet our sources confirm right now the company has no active aircraft in its fleet. None. It previously operated 2 specific B737-400s, but those planes, they're now with other carriers. One's with 4 Airways, currently inactive. The other is operated by GP Aviation.
Wow. So that rapid change in fleet status, just weeks after having a valid certificate, that's highly telling, isn't it?
Extremely telling. It suggests, deep-seated issues, often ones that predate the public announcement of the revocation.
What kind of issues?
Could be anything from financial distress, an inability to maintain operational readiness, or maybe fundamental problems with their maintenance oversight that actually led to their aircraft being moved elsewhere. It's hard to say for sure without more detail.
But this whole situation, it just really underscores how quickly an airline's operational status can flip.
Instantly.
It emphasizes that precarious tightrope walk, doesn't it? Between ambitious growth, meeting market demand, and the absolute non-negotiable need to stick to aviation regulation.
Absolutely. The consequences for not maintaining that compliance, they are immediate, they are severe, and they are very public.
Indeed. What sort of systemic pressures might push an airline, even one with a valid AOC just weeks before, to such a swift downfall?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Is it a symptom of maybe rapid growth outpacing internal controls? Or perhaps external market volatility, making it just impossible to sustain operations under that stringent regulatory oversight?
A complex interplay.
Very complex.
So today, wow, we've really navigated the incredible dynamism of the aviation industry.
We covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, from those strategic partnerships aiming to turbocharge tourism recovery.
The New Zealand-China example.
To airlines smartly expanding their fleets, using models like ACMI to meet demand, boost profitability.
The Australian case study there.
And then, yes, the swift and stark consequences when regulatory compliance isn't met.
The Bulgarian revocation. A sobering reminder.
It really is.
And the continuous interplay between all these factors, global economic shifts, innovative business models like ACMI, and that fundamental requirement for robust regulatory oversight, that interplay truly defines the future path of air travel and aviation solutions worldwide. It's such a complex, interconnected system. Every piece really does impact the whole thing.
So, reflecting on all this, what stands out to you from today's deep dive? As you think about these insights, consider just how crucial each element is for the overall health, the evolution of global aviation. How might these individual stories break the partnership, The fleet expansion, the revocation, how might they ripple through the wider industry?
Yeah.
Affecting everything from, say, ticket prices to the very availability of new routes, maybe even how easy it is for new airlines to start up.
Lots to think about.
Definitely. Keep those questions in mind as you continue your journey of staying well informed.